welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes.
And I'm Kenzie Benali.
And today Southampton travel to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United in the Premier League, fresh off the back of Wednesday night's 3-2 win over Spurs and hoping to turn the Theatre of Dreams into the Theatre of Nightmares for the Red Devils today. Now, joining us on today's episode, we have the ever-present former Southampton captain Dean Hammond and a man we haven't seen for a little while, the former chief sports writer for the Southern Daily Echo, Adam Leitch. I hope you guys are both well.
Oh, it's lovely to see you both and have you with us on the show. But we are going to dive straight into this team news because we've got plenty to talk about off the back of that incredible win, as Steve just mentioned. We can see the scenes up in Manchester at the moment of Ralph and his men arriving at Old Trafford. We do know that Nathan Redmond and Nathan Teller are expected to be out through injury today. Lianco is, of course, a long-term absentee. We might, however, see Tino Livramento feature after being rested midweek. Now, Adam, let's come to you first. A very warm welcome back. After such an incredible win like the one on Wednesday, do you think Ralph should stick with the same lineup or will he freshen it up?
Well, I would like to see him stick, to be honest. Personally, I think it was obviously a great win. The one thing we can't ever know is the freshness of the players. Ralph will see that in training, and if there's somebody who's just out on their feet, then of course he's right to make a change. But if the same 11 look fit enough to go again, I think you've got to reward them. I mean, he's talked himself after the game about how that might be the finest performance since he's been manager at Southampton, which is high praise indeed, because there have been some very good performances during his tenure. But if that's the case, I think I would feel very, very hard done by if I was one of those 11 and I was left out. Yes, I know Livramento obviously is an important player this season and gives a lot of dynamism to the team, but how could you justify really making a change if it's not fitness related? I'm not sure personally that sets a massively great example in the dressing room. I think I'd feel quite annoyed if I was a player and I was left out. So I think for that reason and the fact Saints are building a bit of momentum at the moment, there's a lot of togetherness in this team now. You can see it. They're developing really, really well. It's taken a bit of patience this season, but it's coming good. And I think if you're on a roll, you stick with it. So I would personally like to see him stick with the team, assuming they're all fit and ready to go again.
Yeah, it was a fantastic win on Wednesday night, Dean, and this is another away trip to one of the so-called top sides. What do you reckon? Would you stick with the same lineup?
I agree with Adam. I think if all the players, in terms of their condition, are fit enough for the game, I think it's only right and only fair that the manager goes with the same 11. I think they were fantastic against Tottenham. A brilliant result, but backed up with a brilliant performance. And I think it's the best performance this season. They were fantastic from start to finish. Showed real maturity, which was really impressive. But again, the manager does have options. If there's a player that's not quite at it because of the effort they put in Wednesday night, then he also has that right to make the change and freshen it up, because there is some very good experience within the squad. And we've seen the manager this season also adapt to the opposition and change that up and maybe adapt his tactics and his personnel. So I think he would consider it, definitely. But I think if you look at it from an emotional point of view, the players will be on such a high, really, really will. There'll be such a buzz around the dressing room, and the players will be eager and keen to continue this momentum, like Adam touched on there. And going to Old Trafford is a brilliant place to play. And against the Manchester United team, they're a little bit indifferent at the moment. So I would like to see the same team again. I'd like to see them be brave again and take the game to Manchester United with that confidence that they built up with such a brilliant performance in the week.
Well, remember, those of you watching along at home can have your say as well. Would you like to see Ralph stick with that starting 11 or tinker with the lineup? Let us know in the comments. But before we get to the team news, Adam, we've got to talk once again about Wednesday's game in a bit more detail. I mean, Southampton had 23 shots in comparison to Tottenham's 8. Just how disappointing would it have been not to have come away with something, given how many chances we did create on the night?
Oh, yeah. I think everybody would have been pretty gutted, to be honest. And as Dean said, it's not even, you can look at the numbers like that and the raw stats, and it tells a story, but what it doesn't tell you is the level of performance that Saints produced. And I think that is why they would have been really, really struggling to come to terms with it this quickly for this quicker turnaround of match now, had they not got anything, because clearly they deserved it. And sometimes I think you get in that position where you think, well, what more could we have done? How much better could we actually have played? And we still didn't pick up a victory. So to get the win, which was obviously entirely deserved, is a massive thing for the team. And I think as well, it's sort of a justification in the way that Ralph is approaching this season, and the way that he's managing the team. And I think the other thing that's important that comes off of that is that it breeds a lot of belief in the players, not only in their own ability and in each other's ability, but also a lot of togetherness in what the manager's doing. So I think if the manager, as Dean said, is adapting the team, is evolving the way that they play, I think that sometimes it's easy for players to question whether that's a good idea or not. But when the performances and the results are coming, nobody questions it, and it builds belief and it builds trust in the manager and what they're doing. And if they ask you as a player to go out and do something that you might raise an eyebrow at, you actually think, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, I'm going to do it. And I think that's really big and really important at this juncture where Saints are this year going through a bit of a transition season. And I think it's important for Ralph, and for Saints longer term, that the players really buy into that. And I think performances and results like Wednesday night the key to that happening.
We've just seen the whole host of chances there created by Saints on Wednesday night, Dean, but there was a key 2 minutes of madness that turned the game on its head. Do you want to talk us through that?
Well, it's a brilliant 2 minutes, and Adam talks about the team evolving there. I think this is what it is, because there was no panic. There could have been frustration from the team from obviously going behind again. The goal that I think should have been disallowed as well. But you look at the build-up play, the patience in possession. There's a real structure to the team in terms of the distances between the players. Like I say, there's no panic thinking we've just got to get this ball forward. They're trying to move Tottenham around. They have possession in the half. They come back out. It's a switch of play again. Every player's comfortable on the ball. Great positional sense from all of them. Move the ball well. But then it's this moment where I think Southampton were looking for to get that point, to get a good cross into the box of James Ward-Prowse. But the timing and the movement from Elyounoussi is fantastic. He must have seen that ball go back to James and seen, right, there's a space in the centre of that box, a brilliant midfield run, and it was a fantastic goal. And again, this is an even better cross, in my opinion, because the ball's coming back at pace towards James Ward-Prowse, and he curls it in again, brilliant. And the header, I mean, you watch it again from Che Adams, is brilliant because it's a standing jump and he sees it from a long way and he's having to generate a lot of power in that to get the direction and the placement in the corner to beat the Tottenham goalkeeper was fantastic. But I just love the fact that after Southampton had played so well, created so many chances during the game, and then to go behind, probably to a controversial goal, in my opinion, but then to kind of galvanise themselves and remain calm and think, okay, let's get back to what we've been doing really, really well. Lots of possession. Let's move Tottenham around. And that belief within themselves to think we can get back in this game. And I think that's the difference. There's a real belief within the group. And I think that's what I touched on. That means there's a maturity and an experience coming from the younger guys. But two brilliant goals. And I think that's one of the goals of the season. You know, to have that many passes without Tottenham even getting near Southampton. The cross is brilliant and the run from Elyounoussi is fantastic. But yeah, brilliant scenes afters as well. And it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, it was certainly a memorable night, wasn't it? And of course, as we have just seen, it was Moi Elyounoussi who scored the second of Southampton's 3 goals on Wednesday night. That was his 7th across all competitions in the season so far. And Ralph Hasenhüttl spoke about him in his press conference.
Yeah, I think this long time definitely helped him to make the next step in his development. It was important for him to get game time there, what was always a problem here in the beginning. It's always tough when you are coming in a new team and then the team is not performing well and you are a little bit under the radar and don't get a chance to play a lot. So I think he needed this time, and we were always following him and looking how he developed his game. And it was for me in the summer a very clear decision to say I want him back in this team. And immediately in the preseason, I have seen that he can give me a lot what I want to have on this position. He is a smart player. He can score goals. He's running a lot. He covers a lot of distance. He's disciplined in the defense. He's a quick learner. and he learned to be more resilient in the Premier League. This is what you have to be, because it is tough and it is physically a tough league. And when you learn to do this, then the baggage is a good one. And I think meanwhile he showed that he is a good baggage.
Ralph talking about Moi Elyounoussi there. Now, Adam, Moi had to wait quite a while to work his way into Ralph's plans. What have you made of him as a player during his time before going to Celtic and now being back at Saints?
Well, I mean, the loan spell's done him the world of good. I think there's no doubt about that. When he joined, he was one of those guys that you looked at and you thought he has plenty of technical ability, and that was very obvious. And there's something about him that you like. However, frankly, he looked far too lightweight for the Premier League, where you have to be a tremendous athlete. It looked like, to be honest, a strong gust of wind would put him off his stride. In the Premier League, you just can't get away with being like that. And I think that the fact that we felt like that, I think actually he began to feel like that, and you could see his confidence drain from him. And then you lose even what you have technically to a certain extent, because you can't impact on a game. He went out to Celtic. I probably, if I'm honest, would have thought that would be the end of him at Saints. You kind of expect almost once that's happened that the player's going to go elsewhere. However, he did great at Celtic, and he's come back, and it's really been the making of him. He's gone up to a league there that it does demand that you are physically strong, but the pace is not as intense as the Premier League. He's obviously got a lot stronger, got a lot more used to the physical aspect of the game, and then has been able to bring back that newfound fitness and also confidence that he re-established there by playing very, very well for a sustained period of time, and then has made a big impact on Ralph's team. And I think that's a huge credit to him, really, because I think you see a lot of players who get in that situation and then they just don't come back from it at the same club. It's all over for them, and they just accept it and they move on, and that's just how they see it. Whereas that's not what Moi has done, and that's not how he's felt about it. And he's proved his worth now. He's proved how good he is, and that he deserves to be playing at this level. So you can only really credit him, and also credit Ralph / the wider Saints team for finding the right move for him, because that loan move was obviously now the right move for him, and it's done him the world of good. So I think a lot of credit shared around there.
Most definitely. So, Dean, that's 7 goals, as we've mentioned, for him across all competitions in the season so far. 3 of those coming in the last 4 games. He's certainly a man in fine form. How would you rate his recent performances?
Excellent, Kenzie. Really, really good. And especially, I think it's been really valuable with Stuart Armstrong not being in the team, because he's not the same player, but he's similar. He hasn't got that raw pace of a Teller, of a Nathan Redmond, but he's got that technical ability and that understanding to find areas to be a goal threat. As you saw his goal against West Ham, that performance that day, I thought he was excellent. That is a really, really good goal. And he played more centrally that day. He can play wide, but he also can play centrally. Again, a little bit like Stuart Armstrong. And I think he's really, really developing into a really important player for Southampton. He's a really good finisher. Like I say, he finds good areas of the pitch, and his timing of his runs are very, very good. And Adam's right. The confidence will come from not only his performances, but the trust from his teammates and the trust from the manager, who's willing to play him in important games, in big games, and select him. And that means a lot as a player. It really, really does. But I've been very impressed with him. And I think against Tottenham, both him and Stuart Armstrong really complemented each other really, really well, because they were allowed to come in centrally and get on the half term and be creative and had a bit more flexibility because of the movement of Perrault, because of the movement of Cole Walker-Peters, where they could give the width and the pace. And I think it suits him better, playing centrally, not an out-and-out wide player. And you can just see the confidence is breeding in him. Excellent player, and really, really valuable player to the squad, and hopefully continues this fine goal-scoring form.
Absolutely. Well, yes, he's certainly been in fine form indeed. Well, lots of the fans have been getting in touch, sending us in their thoughts ahead of kickoff. We will get to some of those comments in just a moment, but hot off the press is the team news. So let's take a look at that now. And as expected, Ralph has named an unchanged side. So let's take you through that now, shall we? In goal, it's Fraser Forster. The back four consists of Kyle Walker-Peters, Mohamed Salisu, Jan Bednarek, and Roman Perro. In the middle, it's our captain James Ward-Prowse and Oriol Romeu. Out wide, it's Stuart Armstrong and the man we've spoken so highly about, Moi Elyounoussi, and it's that Che Adams-Armando Broja partnership at the top. On the bench then for the Saints is the following: Willie Caballero, Jack Stevens, Jan Valery, Ibrahima Diallo, Will Smallbone, Musa Gineppo, Tino Livramento, Adam Armstrong and Shane Long. So Adam, let's come to you for your thoughts there. No real surprises there. Pleased to see the same team go again at Old Trafford.
Yeah, very pleased, Kenzie. I think it's completely the right thing to do. I think actually had Ralph changed it sends a bit of a negative signal to some of the players. So I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. It's culturally the right thing to do in the dressing room, but also they just deserve it. They deserve another go. This is a huge game. It doesn't matter how good Manchester United are or are not at any given moment in time. Playing at Old Trafford is huge. Every time you go there as a player, that's a massive place to go and play your football. And so it's big for those guys. They've earned the right to be there. They've earned the right to do this. And I think Ralph's completely correct to stick with the team.
Most definitely. Dean, let's come to you for your thoughts then. And particularly, let's get a word on that Che Adams-Armando Broja partnership, because I know that's something that you're quite a fan of.
Brilliant. I enjoy watching them both play. Obviously, both scored against Tottenham, but they're just such a threat. I think they're such a threat. The attributes that both of them have are fantastic. Both strong runners, both physically strong, both can score a goal, both confident at the moment, and both selfish as well in the right situations, which I think is really important for a goal scorer if you're going to score a number of goals during a season. And I think both of them are understanding that. And I think they'll give Man United a real test today. You know, Manchester United are a brilliant team. They've got world-class players and they can beat anyone on their day. But they're in a tough period at the moment. So, you know, Che Adams and Broja playing up front together will ask Man United questions today. Harry Maguire is a good defender, but he's not been in his best form of late. And there's been a few question marks over him. So what a better time to play against him. You know, believe in yourself. Take that form from midweek into the game. And like I say, ask Manchester United questions. So I'm very happy with the team selection. I think it's the right approach, and just allow the players to go and play. Be brave, take the same approach they did against Tottenham, believe in yourself and take Manchester United on, because like I say, they're a top team, but they're going through a tough period at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at what the fans have to say watching along at home. Thanks for this one, Jason Coombs. He said nothing to fear at Old Trafford. Same attitude as Wednesday night with work ethic. We can do them. Come on, you Reds. Vishnal, hello to you. He's going for a big 3-1 win to the Saints today. That would be lovely. James, hello. Good morning. He says, watching along from Sydney, Australia. Wow, thanks for your company. He's also going for a big win. Also a clean sheet, 2-0 to the Saints. Ben Power is watching from Melbourne. Always great to hear from the fans down under. Thank you for tuning in. And Lynn Dennis is also with us. She sent this comment in. Still thinking about that sensational game on Wednesday. Hope we can continue with the pressure and forceful team performance. Well done, Ralph and the Saints. Keep it up.
Yeah, some very happy fans there. Right, now let's discuss some previous outings against Manchester United. And we'll start with a positive of sorts, where the last time Saints won at Old Trafford was in 2016 with Charlie Austin getting the winner. Adam, what are your memories from that game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great day, a great occasion for Saints. It was a bit of a weird moment in the season, really, because Saints had started that year so well under Ronald Koeman. Then they'd gone through quite a rocky period. I think they won 1 in 10, if memory serves me correct, and then suddenly came off the back of that and just started winning again. Really, the key to that was Ronald did something that was very interesting, and it's a bit like we're saying with Ralph in the way that he's not afraid to change things up. He changed formation, and it tactically didn't really do a lot to Saints, frankly, but it changed a bit the mindset of the players. It kind of gave them a bit of a fresh impetus in some ways. It was a good move, a temporary move from him. And yeah, it was like Charlie Austin. He was a signing that a lot of fans wanted and had kind of clamoured for some time. And then for him to just kind of stroll off the bench and sort of casually at the very end just head the winner at Old Trafford, it just was sort of felt like a bit of a fairy tale moment. And yeah, it was a great season for Saints. And I think this team that Ralph is building now feels to me like probably the closest that we've got to the Koeman era team. Not there yet, but it feels a little bit like it's heading that way. And that's a really exciting feeling right now, I think, because when I look back at that Koeman team again, I just remember we had some great days. They had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but there were a lot more ups and downs. And that day at Old Trafford is the kind of thing you get when you've got a team who are good, they're technically good, they've got belief, and yeah, you've just got top players. And that's kind of where Saints are heading now again.
Well, Dean, quite the opposite to a fairy tale moment. I am going to do the unthinkable now and talk about the last time Southampton travelled to Old Trafford. It was, of course, that 9-0 defeat. Looking back on that difficult night, what are your reflections?
Well, tough, really, really tough. Whenever you lose a game like that, it's difficult. But on reflection, Southampton at that time were in a difficult period, lots of injuries, team selection was difficult. The sending off after 2 minutes which completely changed the game, is always difficult. It's difficult to play at Old Trafford with 11 men. Huge disappointment, obviously, then to go down to 9 men towards the end as well. It was the second season in a row that Southampton had lost 9-0. But it's difficult. But on reflection, all I can say on the positive side of it is the fact that I just can't ever see that happening again. I can't see that happening today. I can't see that happening with the team that Ralph is building. So it's credit to the players, it's credit to the manager, it's credit to the football club to kind of stand by the manager and believe in what he's trying to build at the football club. And we're seeing the fruits of that now. And look, at any given point, Manchester United have world-class players that, if you give them confidence, if you give them space, can score at will. And they just did that night. And it's almost like a freak night, really, that don't happen very, very often in football. But it just seemed to happen to Southampton 2 times in 2 seasons, which is difficult to take. But they're experiences as players that you remember. And you can use that as fuel today, going into the game and see the difference in the team collectively and individually, and have that bit between your teeth to think, okay, that's definitely not happening today. Let's go to Old Trafford and let's prove a point. Let's show how much we've improved. Let's show how much we've developed. And we'll take you on and show you that today. So there can be some positives through it, but I think what there was a real realisation after that night that there was some work to do, and credit to the players and the club, like I say, and the manager, because they've gone away and done it.
Dean touched on it there, Adam, that 9-0 defeat to Leicester the previous season would have still been etched on people's minds. And whilst the scoreline was the same, the circumstances of the defeat to Manchester United were very different.
Well, Kenzie said the unthinkable is to mention the 9-0 defeat at United. You just trumped that, Steve, by mentioning that as well.
Apologies.
Yeah, it was very different. And look, our job is not to sit here and make excuses for Saints in any shape or form, but you also look for reasons things happen. That's not looking for excuses, just looking to understand and learn from the experience. And Leicester was just a really awful day. It was just everything about it was horrific. Obviously, getting beaten 9-0 at Old Trafford is a pretty bad day as well, it's fair to say. But there were circumstances that had to be taken into account there, as Dean touched upon, with the struggle of picking the team, a sending off of a young player who made a terrible mistake, 2 minutes into their debut. It's just an unforgiving place to go and play and to be under that spotlight. And then at the end, the penalty and the red card, I think everybody felt they were a bit hard done by with that decision, and that piled another 3 goals onto the scoreline at the end there. There's no getting away from the fact it was a bad result, but it was obviously it felt nowhere near like Leicester felt. Leicester felt a little bit like the world was caving in on that night. It didn't feel quite so bad at Manchester United because there was a lot of reasons behind it. And as Dean said, you have to give credit to Saints. They stood firm with Ralph after 2 9-0 defeats. I don't think most managers would get through 1 9-0 defeat, let alone 2. And yet here he is still. And things are looking up again. They had the faith in him, and we feel like he's repaying that. So, and that's kind of all you can ask. You can only ask that you learn from it and you don't repeat your mistakes again. And it feels like that is where Saints are heading.
Oh, it's not much fun recapping that, is it?
Certainly not.
But thankfully, it was a much more positive result the last time we faced Manchester United. It was a very credible 1-1 draw at St Mary's Stadium. That was, of course, the second game of this season. And Adam Armstrong had scored in the first game of the season against Everton. So he was probably going into that game full of confidence, Dean. Looking back on that game, how did you rate his performance? And if you could just put your finger on it, why do you think it's not quite happened for him since then? Because I think it's fair to say we all had quite high hopes.
Well, we have high hopes of Adam Armstrong because he's a quality player and he's proved that in his career. He's still young. And obviously the way he started against Everton with a fantastic goal in your debut only adds a little bit more expectation. But his performance against Manchester United on the second game of the season, first home game, was full of energy. He was very, very bright, as you can see the moments. A brilliant assist for Shay Adams. You know, his awareness to know where Shay is. And I still believe that's Shay's goal, even though he's not been given it. But no, a good performance again on the day, and he just showed good examples of his work rate, of being a team player, of his willingness to run in behind, to put the Manchester United players under pressure. And you could see at that point he was in a good place. If I'm honest, you know, we're going to see a header that potentially he could have done a little bit better with, but comes at him very, very quick and just doesn't quite react to it in time. Is he put off by the post? Is he put off by the defender's leg? And then this moment where I just think he potentially could hit that with his right foot and maybe go the other side. It's a good save by the goalkeeper, but that's a good opportunity. But for Adam Armstrong, a player of his ability. And I think in terms of what's happened during the season, he's got 2 goals, a brilliant goal against Aston Villa. So again, has showed what ability he's got. But I put it down to the fact that Brosier's been so good. And I think if you look at the start of the season, Southampton potentially brought Adam Armstrong into the football club to be the number 1 striker, maybe along Shay Adams. And Brosier was going to be the more support behind that, maybe coming off the bench, make an impact. But Brosier's been that good and made such an impact with his performances that it's kind of worked the other way around now, where Adam Armstrong is kind of supporting the other 2. And that's fine. But I still believe he's got a part to play in the season. I still think he's a very, very good signing for the amount of money they paid for him, because of the attributes and ability he has. I just think it takes a little bit of time. And when he does start scoring goals, I think he will score goals because he's a natural goal scorer, an instinctive goal scorer. And I think earlier in the season as well, he maybe didn't get the opportunities that the team were creating. We weren't creating as many opportunities, but I think he will get his time. And he will come good because he's working for a good manager. He's in a good group of players and he's a good football club. So I don't think there's any problem with him. I just think it's been the form of Brosier that's kept him out of the team.
Yeah, well, Ralph is certainly spoilt for choices up top at the moment. Now, Adam, Saints are 10th currently in the Premier League on 28 points. What's your assessment of how the league table's looking at the moment?
Well, it's still fairly congested in that mid zone of the table in which Saints are. So I think we've seen the benefit of what a good run can do because of that congestion in there. They're obviously some way from the relegation zone now, and we're not really concerning ourselves with that. We're more looking upwards, onwards and upwards, really, and thinking when you're on good form like they are at the moment, you're looking at where can we get to? Who's the next target to pick off? Well, obviously Brighton are the next target. There's only a couple of points from them, and then you're thinking Wolves, 6 points, tough but not unassailable. Then you go Tottenham, 8 points. Yeah, probably getting quite hard at that point to foresee a big enough turnaround. But then you also have to have a little crafty look over your shoulder and go, well, it's only 5 points down to Leeds and they're 15th. So it's still really tight in there and it's very, very competitive. And also the table's a little bit jumbled at the moment because of the number of COVID-related fixture postponements. You look at the games played column And it's a bit all over the place. You've got teams that have played 24, Saints have played 23. Then you've got teams that have only played 20, 21. So there's kind of a lot of kind of leveling up in the table to come. So I think for Saints, they just need to, what they want to do is just take advantage of the fact they've got points on the board, push themselves as high as they can, and have others then, can they, trying to catch them. I think that's the position you want to be in, if you can be, from where they are right now. But yeah, I think it's great. And absolutely, you look at the teams that they're in amongst now, and you think, well, why can't they stay in the top half of the table? And if this season ends with a top half finish, it would have been a very good year for them.
Yeah, very good indeed. Now, Dean, I suppose the big question is, what do Southampton need to do to get something from today's game?
Be brave. I think, Kenzie, I think that's the most important thing, like they were against Tottenham. But understand the fact that Manchester United, whatever form they're in, at any point where the players have, can turn it on and it can suddenly click for them. So be very wary of that. But I think take the energy from the performance, from the result midweek, and also the physical energy. The way they pressed Tottenham was fantastic. The way they moved the ball was brilliant. And I think that's what I mean by being brave. Be brave in possession. Get some passes together. Have possession of the football. And take opportunities and allow the fullbacks to go forward and attack Manchester United. And if they can keep a clean sheet today, I think they win the game. I think they really, really do. Because Manchester United are not scoring a lot of goals at the moment, and will be uneasy because there's a huge expectation at Old Trafford, especially whether they're top of the league or where they are now in 5th or 6th place. So they'll be expected to turn Southampton over and really be dominant today. And if they're not, and Southampton can stay in the game, I can see Southampton getting a really positive result today. So be brave in possession of the ball and take the game because, like we say, it's kind of a free hit. There's nothing to lose from this. From the last 2 games, we've drawn with Man City 1-0. We've gone away and beaten Tottenham 3-2. So you go to Old Trafford, you pick up a point, or you win the game. I mean, it's fantastic. That is real momentum. So, yeah, I think if you concentrate on the performance individually and collectively, you've got a real chance today.
Well, for the final time today, let's hear from the fans, shall we? Plenty of love coming in on the comments section following the huge win midweek. Dylan is with us from Brisbane. Hello to you. He says, come on, you Saints. Kurt Stickland also says, come on, you Saints. Adrian Biddlecombe, thanks for this one. I think I'd be happy with a point, but a win will be great. John Clark, good morning. A positive, high tempo and cautious approach required in the opening spell. Stephen's also getting in touch. He says James Ward-Prowse to score from outside the box. And Michael Allen says, hoping for a win. We are in good form. Come on, you Saints. Yeah, I think that is an understatement, Michael. So the fans feeling good, Steve?
Very much so. Now, Dean, Adam, it's time for your final thoughts and those all-important score predictions. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Dean has now overtaken you in the score predictions leaderboard. He's on 2 from a few weeks ago. What are you going to say today to maybe level things up?
Oh, I think it's only fair that we should do it on a percentage of like how many predictions have you got compared to how many games have you done on Saints Live. Well, I'm glad that you came to me first because I think that I am going to take what I feel is the obvious prediction, which I don't know if Dean would have gone for. I suspect he might. I agree with everything Dean said. This is still a really tough game for Saints. Even though I think they are right to have the same team out, it's going to be a big ask to go again at that level and that intensity of the Tottenham game and stick it for 90 minutes. But I think they're going to give it a really good go today. Man United are not, they are very indifferent at the moment. And if Saints can keep them out, I think there's enough nervousness around Old Trafford at the moment they can get something. So I'm gonna be optimistic and go for a 1-1 draw today.
Okay, 1-1. Well, Dean, percentages or not, you are at the top of the table. What's your guess for today?
Well, I must admit, Adam's probably got a few games in hands on me, I must admit. But I'll take being top of the league. And Adam's right, I was probably going to go for 1-1, I must admit. It seems the most obvious result. But I'm feeling good about Southampton today, and I think it all comes down to the performance. It's a big ask, like Adam said, in terms of physically, because it's a big pitch at Old Trafford. But if they can quieten the crowd and stay within the game, I think they've got a real opportunity there. So if I can't go for 1-1, I'm going to be ultra positive and go for a 2-1 Southampton win.
Very good.
Wouldn't that be nice? Adam, lovely to have you back with us. Dean, great to be joined with you as always. And of course, we look forward to welcoming you back after the show, the match rather, the show, the display. That's what I'm calling it after the show on Wednesday. Well, listen, kickoff is fast approaching at Old Trafford. Southampton looking to build on their fine form. Manchester United, on the other hand, are hoping to get back to winning ways. As I mentioned, you can join us after the match on the final whistle to talk about all the major happenings from the game. We'll see you then. Bye for now.